Greetings and salutations, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the spice trade and how it would ultimately fuel the European age of exploration. So, let's get started. Europeans had been trading with East Asia since before the fall of Rome, and throughout the early Dark Ages, there was still trade that was coming from the other half of the world. The Crusades really increased the amount of luxury goods from East Asia into Europe, as well as the idea that these things were really nice. Spices, tobacco, books, paper, lots of things that just did not exist in large quantities did exist farther east. And when people started getting a taste for this stuff, they wanted more of this stuff. Throughout the 1200s and 1300s, these silk roads that carried a lot of this material overland would actually be easier to trade with because the Mongol Empire made trade easier. Now, they did a lot of other bad guy stuff too, but they did do this trade thing, and that's super. Unfortunately, things do not go well forever, and by the 1400s, the Black Death and the collapse of the Mongol safety of trade networks meant that this stuff wasn't as easy to get a hold of, and there was a good couple hundred years where it just wasn't a thing. When the population bounced back from the Black Death, the demand for all these trade goods and what we would call luxury items were still around. Some of the most valuable things are going to be spices, cinnamon, cloves, pepper, and nutmeg. Things that you want, you cannot grow them where you live. They are on the other side of the world, and they are the spice of life. Spices are used in everything. You can use salt to preserve your meats. You can use pepper to mask the smell of rotting meat. You can use cardamom and cumin and cinnamon for your digestion and your general feeling. They can be used in any number of medicinal or perfumery concepts, but they are located, most of these, in the Indonesian islands, on the Isles of Moluccas. It's a long way away, and if you control the trade, you control that spice. And throughout the early 15th century, the Muslim and Italian merchants are the ones who control the spice trade. And when they purchase it from Indonesia and get it to the markets in Western Europe, the price goes up because they're the ones who control the trade of the thing. Now, if you were a Western Europeaner, you might not be super excited to buy the spice at such an inflated price, knowing you were getting ripped off. Gaining direct access to those riches was the motivator for nations like Portugal and Spain initially. They wanted to find a water route to East Asia, to Southeast Asia, to the East Indies, to find this stuff, buy it themselves from the local merchants, and not have to pay this exaggerated, inflated price. Wealth was a good desire for getting people out there and looking, but it wasn't the only desire. Some of these people are going to be motivated by the Crusades that had so horribly failed in the 10th and 11th centuries. Some of these people are going to want to go and find what's on the other side of that horizon. And some people, well, this is a time where the average person is born, lives, and dies and doesn't travel more than 30 miles in their entire life. So give them the opportunity to go halfway around the world, and there's lots of people who are going to take advantage of that. There's some new improvements on technology that make this whole thing a lot easier. Astrolabes, sextants, charts from the Greeks and the Muslim astronomers who show, yes, that star always points in that direction. And if I use this tool the right way, I can guide my ship at night, and I can be in the same place I want to go. This is really useful, especially when you're sailing away from land. Land is great, and you know right where you are because there's the coast. But when you get away from that land and you're surrounded by water on all sides, the only constant you might have would be the stars. New ships are also developed at this time, most infamously the caravel ships. Ships with these large triangular lateen sails that are able to sail into the wind. So even if the wind is blowing at you right in your face, you can still keep going forward. They were larger, they were stronger, they were faster. These things changed the ocean-going game. Prince Henry of Portugal, who would infamously earn the nickname Henry the Navigator, created this school at Sagres, and here he gathered together scientists, cartographers, map makers, shipbuilders, and trained people on how to sail these new ships, how to read a map, how to figure out where the North Star is, and no, it is not the brightest star in the sky. Where is the Southern Cross, and why is that important? All of this stuff is being trained here, and the goal is to get around West Africa. Unfortunately, Henry dies in 1460, but the goal of finding a water route to the Indian Ocean does live past him. And in 1488, Bartholomeu Dias rounds the tip of Africa and is able to say, yes, you can get to the Indian Ocean by water. You just go south all the way around Africa. A decade later, Vasco da Gama leads a flotilla of 4 ships around Africa. This time he makes it to the city of Calicut. And he actually gets to India. This is one of the bigger trading cities. It is a major spice port that's located in southwestern India. And this was great that he had done it, but it was a very costly success. Da Gama lost half his ships. Most of his sailors who died did so because of scurvy or hunger, and those are terrible ways to go. Despite the loss of so much, this is still considered a successful venture for 2 reasons. Number one, Da Gama showed you could get there to India, to the spices by water. And 2, he showed how much money you could make in this. Da Gama's initial investment on these spices was of 3,000%. That means that for every $100 invested in getting himself and his men to India and back, they made $3,000. So this is, obviously a substantial amount of money. And, ooh, we like the money. Let's go make some more. Let's go find some more. So, today we briefly talked about how the spice trade led to the age of exploration and what happened next. I hope you learned something today. I'll see you next time.